Hi, Eric Gibaud, Gibaud.com, and today we're going to see the second part of the photography feature of this camera, the OM system OM-1. So thank you very much to digitphoto.com for sending me the camera. I'll leave you a link to the website in the description and also direct link to the camera body in case you would be interested. So last week I presented other feature. I'll leave you the link to the video here. And the week before, I presented an general review of the camera, also the link here, and also before an unboxing. I'll leave you the link here. So today, what feature are we going to look at? We're going to look at focus stacking, high resolution, HDR, multiple exposure, time-lapse, and pro capture, the famous pro capture. So let's start. I think I'm getting a bit more organized for after every video I do of this for this OM system OM-1. Okay, so one thing that is really important, maybe you didn't see last video, languages length are different. Okay, so it means in English or in Spanish and French the length is different. So if you're watching this video in English but you are not actually a native English speaker and your camera is configured in another language, take into account then the manual of the camera. When you download them from OM system website, you can have a look at the manuals, but the information is not on the same page number. So for every feature I present, I tell you on which page it is. Okay, so for focus stacking, it is on page in English 160, in French 165, and in Spanish 162. So what is that, the focus stacking? Well, sometimes you want to do like a macro photography. It could be landscape also, but you want to have more depth of field. Okay, the only way to get more depth of field, if you don't want to close more the aperture, or you don't want to be further from your subject, whatever reason, okay, you want to gain depth of field. Well, the only way is to make several picture moving your point of focus in depth. Okay, not on the side but in depth on your picture. Okay, so the easiest way is to use a feature that does that. So focus stacking in the camera will make from 3 to 15 pictures, changing a bit the point of focus where it's done, and then it will merge all the pictures together and give you a final image with more depth of field. It makes from 3 to 15 pictures and give you a final JPEG picture. Okay, so one thing, this feature is not available with every lens. Pro lens, yes. Micro lens, yes, but all of them has to be by Olympus. Okay, if you wanted to have that kind of result with a different lens, or you want a raw file and you don't want JPEG, then there is another option, which is focus bracketing. It will do the same thing. It will give you a raw file if you want, but you will have to merge the picture yourself. It will take from 3 to 999 pictures. It's explained on page 178 in English, 180 in Spanish, and 184 in French. Okay, so in that case you will make all that many pictures, but you will have to merge them using a software on your computer. I'm not sure if Photoshop does it. There is Helicon Focus. There are several pieces of software that can actually do that. This is easy, okay? And the good thing, you get really a lot of picture. You can really gain a lot of depth of field, or go really precise, okay? But I'm going to show you today just the focus stacking to see the result, okay? And maybe I will do later a special video about focus bracketing and things like this. Okay, so now I'm going to leave you with the menu setup. The focus bracketing, by the way, you can do with any lens with autofocus. Doesn't have to be Olympus, doesn't have to be a specific list of lenses on what Olympus says. As long as it has autofocus, it will do it. Okay, so let's do some focus stacking. I have to click here on menu. I must go to the menu 2. I'll go with the front wheel, okay, and then on the menu 2, if I come very close to the viewfinder, it's switched off. Okay, focus stacking, I go here. I must put on, but I've got more option here. I can set the number of shots. It goes from 3, which is the minimum, up to 15. Okay, so I pick how many shots will be done to get everything stacked together. And second, the set focus differential. It means how much space in depth will my autofocus change. Narrow or wide. I've got it in mid, okay, in 5, okay, but it depends what you're doing, okay. Testing will give you the result what was good or not, okay. And then charge time, what is that? Well, let's say you want to make a picture with flash, and your flash needs time to recycle. So as it's going to make several pictures, you want the flash to be ready for each picture. Obviously you work on a tripod for that. Well, in any case, okay, but obviously you will wait between each picture, and you tell how much it must wait. So check the flash recycling time depending on the power you're using. If it's like if it takes like 6 seconds, well, put on 8, so it's ready for each picture, okay. So you just adapt it. I'm not sure if it's for every flash. I thought you did not need to indicate that if you were using an Olympus flash, okay, but I'm not sure, okay. I think it was like this when I read the manual of my OM-5 Mark II, but here they don't mention anything here. But this is the way. This your focus stacking option is activated here. You press, final press is on, and now from here what you're going to do is focus stacked, okay. Well, simple example, I'm going to do a picture without the focus stacking first. I'm on f4, so you see depth of field, and then I will activate focus stacking to see how I gain in depth of field, okay. Now we're going to speak about probably one of the most famous or surprising, I would say, a feature of Olympus OM system. It was already on many Olympus, which is the high resolution. I think it was invented by Hasselblad. Now you can find it on some Sony cameras too, okay, but on Olympus it was great because many people were complaining about the 20 million pixel or 16 million pixel like on my OM-5 Mark II, okay. That gives you the possibility to get a lot higher resolution. So how does it work? Well, actually it uses the IBIS. It moves it half a pixel in every direction, makes like about 8 pictures I think, and then merge them together and you get a higher resolution picture, okay. You can go up to 80 million pixel raw file, so this is a lot higher than the basic 20 million. And this would be on a tripod. If you use a handheld, then you can go up to 50 million pixel, which is not little, okay. One thing that is really important is the subject must be really static, really static. This is really important because otherwise, if the subject is moving, as it makes several pictures, it will have moved between each picture, so it will make some funny look, okay. So this is really important. And if you're on a tripod, you can get up to 80 million pixel, but really no vibration is possible. Don't jump next to the tripod. Make sure you delay the moment the picture is made, all this. Well, I'll explain when I show now how to configure, how to set up the things, okay? But this is really important. By the way, on the manual, it's on page 156 in English, 158 in Spanish, and 161 in French, okay? One thing I really like is you can drop, you can have 80 million pixel maximum on tripod, and you can get 50 and 25 million pixel, and same thing on handheld, you can get 50 and 25. Some people will think, yeah, but 25 what for? I mean 25 million pixel, if the native resolution is 20 million pixel, what would you do 25? Well, there's something really strange. When you make a picture with high res, it just eats up the noise. So this is fantastic. It means in really low light picture situation, maybe it's worth doing a high res in 25 million pixel, so it will reduce the noise a lot. It's a physical phenomenon. When it moves like this, the sensor, it eats up the noise. So this is a great option. Quality is I'll show you now. So I'm going to show you now how to set up the menus and show you some results, okay? But this is a great option when you have a really static subject, whether it's product photography or architecture or whatever that doesn't move, okay? Not even a tree that is moving, really static. Forget about portrait, really static, 100% static. This is a great feature. So now I'll show you how to set it up and then some samples. So now we're going to configure in high res. Okay, so press menu, okay, and you go to menu 2 section, okay. Okay, here you pick the first one, high res shot, click here and you click on off, and then you have 2 options, tripod mounted, okay, or handheld. Okay, so we're going to pick tripod first, and here you have several options. You can have several size, would be 80, 50 or 25 fine JPEG, or JPEG plus RAW, same thing, 80, 50 or 25, okay. Let's say I pick here 80, okay, megapixels. Waiting time, what is that? Was it's how long you want to wait until after you press the trigger. How long does it wait before making the picture? Why? Because you want this to be really steady or whatever, but it has to be really steady. So after you've pressed the camera, the button, you want to make sure vibration stops, okay. So you put the time you think is fine for that. I'll leave it on 0 right now. And in case you are using a flash, same thing as the focus stacking, you need to recycle the flash between each picture because this makes several pictures. So obviously you have to pick a recycle time, and this is what you would indicate here, okay. Oh, as you can see, it's written that if you use a dedicated flash, I mean an Olympus flash, then you don't need to set this, okay. So here you will be ready, okay. If I press the trigger here, you see now the small logo that is flashing here, that indicates you are in high res mode, okay. In case you wanted to do handheld, well, that's simple. You click, instead of going to tripod, you go to handheld. In this case, you will see that you don't have the option of 80, it's gray, you cannot pick it, okay. So you can do only 50, 25 in JPEG, or 50 and 25 in RAW plus JPEG, okay. And the rest is the same. So your camera is set now to do a high res shot. Now I'm going to do a high resolution picture. First, without high resolution, I've widened a bit the field compared to the focus stacking, so we see a bit more texture, okay. And first picture without any high resolution, then I will do 80 million pixel on tripod. It's a bit windy, it's not really, I'm not sure it's going to come out fine, okay, but we're going to try anyway. And then after I'll do handheld. So let's start with a tripod. First a picture without any high res, okay, so let's do it. Okay, now let's go for high res. Now high res on tripod, 80 million pixel. I'll put a waiting time of 1 second. So once I've pressed the button, it takes the trigger, it takes 1 second. So the stabilizer, the camera stops. I should have removed the strap, all this. The result is not going to be perfect because it's a bit windy. So, but we try anyway, okay? But the important is that you see the possibilities. But honestly, it would be more logical to do it indoor, okay? So let's do the pick. Okay, so strange position be like this, okay, so let's do now a handheld, okay. Now a handheld first without any high res, normal, okay. Then I activate high res mode, handheld, 50 million pixel. It's really windy, eh? It's really hard, okay. And then we're going to try 25 million pixels. So let's see the results. By the way, last video I sunburnt my forehead. As you can see, I'm peeling right now. Okay, so now we're going to speak about HDR. Very often people, when we say HDR, they think, oh, these crazy colors, this is horrible. No, this is tone mapping. Many people, well, I would say 99% of people make the confusion. Okay, HDR is high dynamic range. Unless you know about photography, you don't realize there is an HDR. A good HDR, you see that it's impossible to have these shadows properly exposed and the highlight in the cloud also properly exposed. Okay, but most people won't notice it because it's the way they see it. Okay, so you have this feature in camera. You can have two kind of HDR. The number one, which is a natural look, and then HDR2, that is more radical look. Okay, what's important is that it gives you a JPEG, a finished JPEG. So some people will say, yeah, but if I want a raw file, what do I do? Well, simply, this feature is to help you get the picture finished straight from the camera. If you don't want to have a JPEG, it's easy to do exposure bracketing, and then you merge the picture in your computer, and this way you can work with raw files, so no problem. So I'm going to show you how to set up the menus and give you some example. So let's carry on. So now we're going to set up the HDR. So menu 2, okay, HDR. Here you have several options. HDR1 that makes 4 pictures with different exposure and combine them with the high contrast image. HDR2 with a super high contrast image. So if you pick any of them, I pick this one for example. When I go back to my shooting screen, here it writes HDR1. It reminds me of what I've picked. Okay, if I pick the 2, same thing, HDR2 here under my thumb. Okay, and I've got more options than what I said just before. I could pick to make 3 pictures with 2 stop difference. In total, 5 pictures with 2 stop difference, 7 pictures with 2 stop difference, and 5 with 3 stop, 3 EV, and 3 picture with 3 EV. Okay, in case you pick any of these other options than HDR1 or 2, when you go here, it simply write HDR. But as you can see, it's really easy to set up and do high dynamic range pictures. Okay, so now we're going to the HDR mode. I'm going to do handheld. If it was with a lot less light, it would be more logical to do with tripod anyway, okay, because it makes several pictures. So the first picture, I'm going to work the best exposure I can get without any HDR, okay. Then I'm going to activate HDR1, okay. I could adjust the menu and just leave it as set originally, okay. Okay, and then HDR2. We do see a serious gain in shadows, okay? Now I'm going to speak about a feature I don't really like. I've never really used it. I've never known what people like it, but some people love it. This is called multi-exposure. It means you actually have pictures that are overlaid on each other. One is overlaid on the first one, okay? So let's say I make a picture of this part and then a second picture and just appear stacked together. People love it, some people hate it. I'm probably one of the second part, but I've seen some things that are brilliant, okay? So when it was film photography, many people loved to do this. This was like a game for them. Like it was hard to do in film photography. Now it's really a lot easier with digital cameras, okay? So the good thing with this is you can actually make a picture right now in daytime and keep it on my camera, still use my camera for other things. And tonight I want to make a picture of the moon and overlay it on my first picture. I just have to choose in the menu, in the option, where my basic raw, original picture is. It has to be a raw file. I pick it and then I overlay a new picture on it. Okay, so this is in this way it's really great because I've seen some people making picture in daytime and then a picture of the moon with a different lens, really massive moon, and then overlay it, and the result were really good. Many people thought it was Photoshop, but it was not. Okay, it was in camera. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to set up the camera and show you a sample. Okay, so let's carry on. Now we're gonna see a multi-exposure. You go to menu 2, or what is computational modes, okay? And you go here to multi-exposure. So you put it on and you have a couple of options. One is auto gain. What is that? It means that it will adjust luminosity of both picture to make sure they're not overexposed, okay? So the best thing is you test and to see what's better for you or not. And the following one, I cannot show you because I don't have any picture in the memory card, but if you click here, instead of this message saying that there are no pictures in the camera, you would have a list of small thumbnails of raw file pictures, and you pick the one you want to be used to mix with your next picture you will do, okay? I'll show you right now with an example. You will see how it works, okay? But as you can see, it's really easy to use multiple exposure, okay? In this case, you have a small drawing also that says it's multiple exposure, okay? So now we're going to do a multi-exposure. I'm going to take a view of this, okay? And then place it on this circle of metal here. So you have to activate, okay, on. Let's make the picture, okay. Let's see. I've reduced the gain, so it means when I will double expose, it will lower the exposure, okay, to make sure it's not, the full picture is not overexposed, okay. And that's it. That's simple. Some people love that. I don't, but that's the way it works. If I want to do with the picture I had before, I go to my multi-exposure, I say on to multi-exposure, I go to overlay, automatically it shows me picture I've made before, okay? So I'm going to pick one of I made of this boat, okay? I pick it, okay, no problem. Okay, now it appears in my viewfinder, okay? I just have to place it in the circle as I did before, okay? And do it, okay? And I've got the result. That's it, that easy. I could have picked a picture I made several days ago, okay? Now, this feature is really loved by many people. This is time-lapse. You can find it on the manual on page 167 in English, 169 in Spanish, and 172 in French, okay? What is a time-lapse? A time-lapse is a mix between photography and video. You actually make a lot of picture spaced in time, like every minute or every second or whatever, and then it's all merged together into a video. So you look as fast as a video, but you will see like shaky things. I don't know, I could say that, but you will see our time is passing faster, okay? So some people really love it, especially when you leave the camera for hours, and after 1 minute you see what happened in hours, okay? So you can make from 2 to 9,999 pictures, and then they get stacked into one video. I'm not going to explain exactly right now speaking how it works. I show you how you set it up in the camera, explain each part of it, and then after I'll show you the result of a mini time lapse I've made, okay? So let's see how to set up a time-lapse video, okay, or time-lapse pictures, and we'll see if you want to do video, okay? You press on menu. This time it's on the second thumbnail, or what you call it, menu 2, section 2, menu second page, okay? Interval shooting, okay? So here you press on, but you have to set several things. How many frames do you want to make in total? How many pictures? From 3 to 9,999, okay? Then you have to decide when it will start your time lapse. If you start straight away, you leave on 0. If you want it to start in 1 hour, well, you put 1 hour, in 10 minutes, whatever you need, okay? So you will press and it will start when you said it will start. Interval length, it means how much time between each picture, how long does it have to wait between each picture? 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour? Maybe you want to do a picture every 5 minutes, doesn't matter. You set it here, okay? Then interval mode. You have time priority or frame priority. It means sometimes if you have automatic exposure, obviously if you've to make a picture every 1 second and the exposure that is needed at that time is 3 seconds, they will overlap. That would not work, okay? So you have to decide what's important. Prioritize keeping the interval time, skip the next shooting when the set interval cannot be kept, or prioritize keeping the number of shooting frame, start the next shooting after the interval time lapse once the recent frame has been recorded, okay? So you pick the one you think is fine. You have to calculate exactly what will be needed, but it will show, okay. Then you have exposure smoothing. Sometimes the exposure may change and it will be really noticeable in your video. Clouds are passing or whatever, especially if you make many pictures with not much time in between, okay? So you can have smoothing, so it will adapt the exposure. Then you have time-lapse movie. Well, if you forget to put off, as it happened to me, I made 300 pictures and didn't get any movie at the end, it's because you want to make your own time-lapse in your computer or your smartphone with the pictures that have been made. So you don't ask the camera to create a final movie. If you put on, then it will make a final movie and you must pick the setting. You can do it in 4K, Full HD, HD, and you have to pick also how many frames per second you want for it, okay? From 30 down to 5 frames per second. So it will create a final movie with all this. So as you can see, this is really easy to set, okay? When you're in time-lapse mode, here on the top left, you have a small clock and also a number. I indicated to make 200 pictures, so it says 200. And then when I start, this number will decrease until it gets to 0. So at any time, you know how many pictures are left to be made while you're doing the time-lapse, okay? Now I'm going to speak about the star feature for every action photographer when they get on Olympus that just love this. This is called Pro Capture. You can find it in the manual on page 133 in English, in Spanish 135, and in French 137. Okay. So what is Pro Capture? Let's say you do action photography. Right now I'm next to the sea and a small harbor, and there are some seagulls. I want to make a picture of them and they dive and get fish, okay? It's almost impossible to get the picture just at the right moment. It's really hard, okay? So with this feature, I just half press my trigger. It starts making picture up to 70 picture. And then when I click the definite picture, then when I think the action is there, I click and then it keeps making picture. So it will keep some of the picture I've made before the definite click, okay? So it means it's really hard to miss the right moment because you start making picture already, your camera start capturing before you already feel that's the right moment. So if you're a bit late on the moment, you probably have the picture anyway, okay? So this is fantastic. There are 3 levels of Pro Capture in this camera. You have Pro Capture with 20 frames per second. Then you have H1, which is 120 frames per second. But in this case, you don't have continuous autofocus. It makes autofocus on the first frame and then doesn't focus anymore. And if you have HH2, then it's 50 frames per second, but then you have the continuous autofocus, which is really brilliant, okay? So I'm going to show you how to configure the camera, and I'm going to try to capture one of the seagulls when it dives, okay? I'm not sure we'll get a great picture, but I tested before, but I want to redo it especially for that, okay? So now I'll show you how to set up the camera and we do some demo, okay? take into account that this feature at 120 frames per second and 50 frames per second only work with some lenses by Olympus, the pro level lenses, okay? Otherwise, it drops to 25 frames per second, which is not that bad, okay? So obviously, I think that if you are into action photography, you probably want to have a pro lens anyway, but still, it's important that you know this limit, okay? So now we're going to activate Pro Capture. Well, obviously you can activate also more things that have to do with autofocus. For example, here on this menu, I can go to subject detection. In this case, I'm going to use bird detection, okay? If I pick bird detection, as you can see, face and eye detection are off, because logically, well, I'm looking for birds, not for humans, okay? And to access the configuration, I've got these two buttons here. On the back one, obviously here I can pick the type of autofocus I want, like continuous with tracking, okay? And on the front one here at the top, I will pick, here I've got Pro Cap, which is a standard Pro Capture, and here I've got 20 frames per second. Here I've got Pro Cap SH1, which is 150 frames per second, but no continuous autofocus, okay? Then HS2, which is 50 frames per second with continuous autofocus or whatever I've picked, okay? And so as you can see, this is really fast to set Pro Capture. I still advise that if you use it very often, you should use a preset, so you go straight away, you just move the wheel here and get your Pro Capture ready, okay? By the way, as I'm here, when you press here, as you can see, there are several things here. You have SH1, SH2, Pro Cap, SH1, SH2, Pro Cap again. So you think, what's the difference? Well, here, this is the electronic shutter with at 120 frames per second without a continuous autofocus. This one is with continuous autofocus 50 frames per second, but it doesn't capture the pictures when you off press the trigger. This is only happen in Pro Cap. When you're SH1, SH2, then it's with high speed, okay? But then it pre-capture before when you have pressed halfway the shutter, okay? The trigger. On the other SH1, SH2, it doesn't pre-capture your picture. That's the difference, okay? I have to make several tests and I'll show you the result, because otherwise you're going to be waiting a lot. So I've managed to catch a second sunburn. That's not bad. Okay, what's about the seagulls? Well, the big problem is that the only one I saw catching a fish was while I was speaking to the camera, so I could not capture it, okay? But I've tested activating the bird detection, tracking, and obviously at 120 frames per second, that's not feasible, because you need the autofocus, it's moving all the time, okay? But honestly, on 50 frames per second, I really catch at the right moment. I tried when they go to the sea, okay, to see as if they were going to catch something, and yeah, it's impossible to miss. You really get the right moment. So big respect for people who make picture of bird catching fish. That's really complicated, no doubt about that. But for me, what I tested, a pity that so far with a longer lens I would get closer and see them better, okay? But I think this feature is brilliant. Honestly, I think it's great. One thing that is important that the buffer fills very fast. So it's important that you know how to really trigger at the right moment, a bit before the right moment, okay? But otherwise you just fill your card with plenty of pictures that are almost all the same. So it's important that you really train to use this feature, okay? Otherwise you will make many pictures, and sometimes if you press too long in advance, then you fill the buffer and then you cannot make the right picture, okay? So train, but this is a great feature. Well, that's it. I think I will have to do another video about the photography feature because there are more things. I'll do it after, probably after the video about video features, okay? That I would normally publish next week if my forehead is not burnt inside my brain, okay? But I think it already gives an idea of what you can do with this camera, some information about configuration and things like this. So I hope you like it. Thank you so much to Digit Photo for sending me the camera. I'll leave you a link to their website and you can contact them even if they're in France. They do sell abroad, okay? It's really hard to find this camera right now, so maybe it's interesting for you to get on waiting list anyway, okay? So thank you to them. Thank you to you for watching the video. If you feel it may interest other people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done it yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. A small button down here, a small bell. If you click on the bell, get notified when I upload a new video. My website, Gibaud.com. If you have any questions, can leave a comment below. I'll leave you links of my gear on Amazon, links of everything I've reviewed by K&F Concept and Sandmark, and also a link to my PayPal account in case you wanted to make a donation. Thank you very much. Please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye.